How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs. Memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1 877 928 8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Friday, June 14th, 2019. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. We have a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on, as I'm sure anybody who's got their TV on knows just how wildly out of control this Iran situation is spinning. And of course, this being Friday, the lovely Lady Claire will be joining us in hour number 3 with her unique perspective on the world. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, 800-313-9443. And again, at least on Fox News, top of the hour, bottom of the hour, Iran was behind the attacks on the tanker. It's got Iran written all over it. That's what Trump was saying. And again, no evidence for it whatsoever. Mike Pompeo, of course, yesterday in his press conference, basically replayed the run-up to the 2003 invasion of Iraq by making all these spectacular claims about, Iraq, or in this case, Iran, doing all this stuff. But again, no evidence whatsoever. So today, they came up with this video, which is suspiciously blurry. That's the first reason to say, you can't identify the boat. You really can't. There's certainly nothing that says Iran on it. And when I looked at this, supposedly the official story is that these are Iranians who are basically stealing back one of their limpet mines that failed to detonate, lest it be tracked back to Iran. And two things leapt out at me. First of all, they're placing those limpet mines way, way above the water line, which means whoever's behind this doesn't really want the ships to sink. They just want some damage. They want some, video of flame for the evening news here. And the other thing I noticed was how full that boat was, just full of people. Now, explosive ordnance disposal is a very risky activity. Mistakes can and do happen. And so it occurred to me, if they really were recovering a limpet mine that failed to fire and was in an unknown state of readiness, that boat should have only had the helmsman and the guy pulling the limpet mine off the ship, and everybody else should have been left on shore so they don't risk getting blown up. So again, already I'm suspicious about this whole situation. And again, there are reasons to be skeptical about all of this. First of all, Mike Pompeo is a known liar, especially when it comes to Iran. And remember when he was heading the CIA, he admitted, we lied, we cheated, we stole, we had entire training courses. We know the United States uses lies and false flags to start wars. Remember Saddam's nuclear weapons and Assad's sarin gas. So there are definitely reasons to be very, very skeptical. John Bolton is out there openly endorsing lying to advance the military agenda. That's what they really believe, that it's okay for them to lie to you, the U.S. citizens, the taxpayers, to get you to go along with the war. So anyway, the State Department is already cranking up a massive propaganda campaign to try and manipulate the public perception of Iran. Oh, they're bad people. They dress funny. They tap dance barefoot on shag carpeting. And in the end, it makes no sense. Okay? It makes no sense at all. Now, one of the ships damaged in the attacks was Japanese owned, and the other was bound for Japan. And this all came down just as Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was in Tehran attempting to negotiate a de-escalation between the U.S. and Iran with Trump's blessing. And just after Iran had released a prisoner accused of conducting espionage for the U.S. In what many took to be a gesture of good faith. So if you look at all that the United States has been doing to Iran, they have shown remarkable restraint and calm in the face of these relentless sanctions and provocations. Iran doesn't have a reason to do this. They don't want a war. They don't want the situation to escalate. It's only the people who want escalation that benefit from this. And here's where the story gets even more interesting. Okay, the owner of the Japanese tanker is saying that the ship was hit by flying objects. The crew all saw these flying objects just whizzing on in and hitting the side of the ship. And they're standing firm on that. They're saying the ship was not hit by a mine. And he makes a very common sense story. He said, if the ship had been hit by a mine, it would have holed the water line, and the ship would be in much worse trouble than it really, really is. Okay, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. I mean, Trump is saying this has Iran written all over it. No, this has Saddam's nukes written all over it. This has Assad's sarin gas written all over it. Iran has no reason to torpedo oil tankers in the Gulf and go to war. They're trying to de-escalate the situation. So Russia's already out there saying, let's not be hasty, because there is no real evidence. There's one blurry, very blurry videotape. And the assurances of the government of the United States of America. So Russia is basically saying, let's watch about hasty conclusions against attempts to lay the blame at the door of those we simply don't like, which is what it comes down to. Over in Great Britain, they're singing a different story, and Britain believes the U.S. story that Iran did it. They don't have any proof either, but the U.S. is our closest ally. And that's why they're going to go along supporting the U.S. version of the story, just because they're buds. Okay, we have a caller on the line, Layla in Canada. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, Mike, using your yardstick for judging whether something is credible or not, who tends to benefit if the U.S. attacks Iran?
Well, obviously, the U.S. benefits, Israel benefits, the private central bankers benefit. Oil markets are probably going to take a hit. But we know that here in the West, they've been drooling for a war with Iran for years, for decades.
At whose instigation?
Again, there are several overlapping agendas, one of which is Israel. They want to remove a regional political rival. Again, the private central bankers want to bring Iran under private central banking. The United States wants Iran's oil to be sold only for the U.S. dollar to increase foreign demand for dollars. And of course, the weapons makers are making a lot of money making the weapons with which to attack Iran.
And those who make and sell the weapons are primarily Israel and the U.S. In my opinion, it's Israel who's needling the U.S. and Britain also. I mean, Britain and Israel have long been in collusion. That's no news to anybody. So in my opinion, Israel is the primary, although there are overlapping interests. Israel is the primary source, since Israel wants to take control of the entire region, and it pledges, probably secretly, to serve the interests of all those overlapping interests. However, in the 1947 hijacking of the land known as Palestine, Israel had already promised to serve Britain if Britain would help them take over Palestine. And then the first thing Israel did was, the Zionists did, was to try and drive out the British, which they succeeded in doing.
Yes.
So they will betray their allies just as they will slaughter people who are of no interest to them, but simply junk DNA that's in the way. And again, that's my opinion, but I think history or historical events bears that as being fact. I have another question for you.
Sure.
If you don't mind. May I ask you? It's about the preamble to the Constitution.
Yes.
There's a prepositional phrase, to ourselves and our progeny, I think is the word.
Posterity.
To our posterity. To our posterity. Thomas Jefferson was very wordy. He had, and Ben Franklin came along.
Well, he was a lawyer.
And eliminated. Yeah, and then Ben Franklin came along and eliminated, because he was a journalist. He came along and eliminated a lot of the unnecessary verbiage. If that prepositional phrase remained, to ourselves and our posterity, those being very, very specific and exclusive of those who are not ourselves and not descended from ourselves, it excludes everyone else. The rights that are, including the Bill of Rights, which I assume is part of the Constitution. So unless that clause has been amended or considered irrelevant, has that ever occurred? Has its legitimacy ever been challenged? Do you know?
I don't think it really has, because the preamble is not really considered an actual operant document for running the country. It is merely an introduction. And
but it is, yes, it is an introduction, but more than anything else, it is a statement of intent.
Yes.
Of how the resulting documents, what purpose they are to serve. They are to preserve and serve the interests of ourselves and our posterity. In fact, prior to that, in the Articles of Confederation, in Article 5, which could be considered the actual birth certificate of the U.S.,
yes,
although it was replaced by the Constitution, again, it states the purest and most elemental, fundamental ideals and principles and purposes of the whole enterprise called the United States. In Article 5, it says that, let me see, where does it says, yeah, I should start with actually the previous page, if you don't mind. I just want to point out obviously I'm getting at the idea of the migrants.
Well, see, here's where that breaks down, because when you go back to ourselves and our posterity, how do you define our? Because that's kind of left up in the air. And with an immigration policy, our could come to mean those who have emigrated to the United States of America. Now, I'll be the first one to acknowledge
legally.
Legally. I'll be the first one to acknowledge that this flood of illegal immigrants is in fact a threat to all of the blessings, if you will, that the Founding Fathers put in that Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and we're seeing them getting eroded away. The First Amendment is under attack for hate speech. The Second Amendment is constantly under attack. The Fourth Amendment doesn't even exist anymore. And so, this country is being taken apart. And that bright promise that was in that constitutional preamble has been broken.
It wasn't just a promise, it was a commitment. It was an obligation, and that obligation bound anyone who was ever elected to honor that obligation, and all ourselves being, the Caucasians that initially created the United States. Now, those that they forcibly brought over, like the slaves, that's another story, even though they were excluded. However, ironically, let me go back to the second page.
Okay, can we wrap this up, because we've got a lot of stuff to talk about Iran.
It even talks about a nation of Indians which might invade one of the states, that then a state is allowed to go into a state of war against them. So even the Indians who were already on this land prior to the creation of the United States are considered invaders. Yet we have people in Congress allowing people who never even lived in this land to invade and become citizens. And it talks about treason and felony, and those people are guilty of that. So what I'm saying is that the whole point is that is there any point to a constitution of even a United States if we're not going to abide by its reason for being, its raison d'etre?
Well,
Why?
remember what George W. Bush said about the Constitution. He called it a blankety-blank piece of paper. Our current government really, they'll wave it around during election season. Anyway, listen, Layla, I really do need to get back to the current news. So thank you for the phone call and for the insights there. Getting on back to the Gulf of Oman, the U.S. Navy has deployed another destroyer, the USS Mason. It's en route to the Gulf of Oman to provide assistance after attacks on oil tankers. By the way, about an hour ago, there was a story that came and went saying that Iranian gunboats were preventing the towing of the damaged oil tankers. But that story has not been repeated, and again, like so many of the other allegations, no proof was being provided whatsoever. But there's definitely a full court push to control the narration on all of this, because Twitter just deleted 4,779 accounts that it says are associated with Iran. So they don't want the Iranian people getting onto Twitter and saying, no, we wouldn't do it. It doesn't make any sense. They're trying to absolutely monopolize the narrative on this thing. Okay, now this is a little bit alarming. Apparently, lawmakers from both sides of the Congress revealed that Mike Pompeo told them Trump can order an attack on Iran because Congress never withdrew Bush's post-9/11 military permission to enter Afghanistan and Iraq. They keep reusing that authorization for the use of force, even though that particular document, which was based on a fraud, that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, it specified Afghanistan and Iraq. But again, Congress has shirked its responsibility to determine when and against who the United States goes to war. So it feels like it's going to be on, and it's going to be on very soon. Certainly Israel would like the war with Iran to be on early enough where it's not a distraction for Israel's September snap elections here. Over in Saudi Arabia, their air defense forces intercepted 5 drones launched by the Houthis at Aba Airport and the city of Khamis Mushat. And that is their latest escalation. Apparently, 26 people were injured after Houthis fired missiles at Aba Airport Wednesday, drawing a sharp response from Riyadh, which then vowed to take stern action. Up in Afghanistan, call it a whoopsie, little bit of a big whoopsie here. For the second time in less than a month, U.S. forces carried out airstrikes in self-defense, only to discover they were actually attacking Afghan security forces. And apparently the Wednesday strike ended up wiping out the entire Afghan unit. Nobody has disclosed the exact numbers of deaths, but apparently everybody there got killed. So, talk about the gang that couldn't shoot straight here. Israeli forces have struck Gaza again, the Gaza Strip, supposed to be in response to a rocket fired at Sderot on the previous day. And Israel continues being Israel. Apparently, they're getting ready to bulldoze an entire Jerusalem neighborhood. And that will leave 550 Palestinians homeless. So Wadi Yasul, which is located between the neighborhoods of Abu Tur and Silwan, is home to 72 Palestinian families. And according to B'Tselem, the Jerusalem municipality has issued demolition orders for all the neighborhood homes, so all the families there are basically going to be looking at finding someplace else to live if they can. Meanwhile, illegal Israeli settlers have set up an illegal outpost on Palestinian land in the occupied old city of Hebron. We have to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And once again, Republic Broadcasting needs you. It's just really, really tight right now. And look at what's going on in the world. So if you can help, and A heartfelt thanks to those of you who already have. But if you can help, the postal address to send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas 78664. The phone number where you can make a debit or credit card donation or pledge to be a recurring subscriber is 800-724-2719, extension 1 during business hours, extension 3 at all other times. Alrighty, so getting on back to what's going on over in Israel. A senior legal advisor to the European Union's top court said yesterday that products from Israeli settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories should be clearly labeled as such. And apparently the European Court of Justice is considering a request from France's top tribunal for clarification of the rules on labeling goods from the West Bank and East Jerusalem, as well as the Israeli-occupied Syrian Golan Heights. And of course, Israel does not want this at all. Israel wants it all stamped product of Israel because they understand that people are going to see this product came from one of the illegal settlements and that they're not going to want to buy it. They're trying to stop the BDS. And I think there was a story some months back where somebody actually got caught printing up little stickers that said product of Israel and sticking them over on the package where it said product of Palestine or product of this settlement or that settlement, which I actually think is illegal. But I mean, that's how tense they are about this. The Palestine Ministry of Health in Gaza warned of a deterioration in conditions in its hospitals due to the unprecedented lack of medicines. And the ministry said patients in Gaza hospitals are experiencing unprecedented bad conditions due to the lack of medications resulting from the Israeli siege. 52% of basic medicines and medical supplies have now run out in the Strip, which undermines the ministry's ability to offer its services. I'm a little disappointed in this one. Apparently, Trump is enjoying bipartisan support for his plan to eradicate the Palestinian cause. That's what lies at the heart of the deal of the century. Hey, we're going to get you some money. We're going to make your life a little bit easier. But in exchange, you give up this idea of ever being your own country. And critics are viewing Trump's approach as a dangerous departure from the traditional U.S. role of honest broker. Well, we haven't had that role since 9/11. Ever since 9/11, whatever Israel wants, Israel gets. It's been very, very obvious to me. The United States and Turkey are still having at each other over the S-400. And apparently Erdogan Karakas, who's a retired Turkish Air Force Lieutenant General, saying the Patriot system can't meet Turkey's defense needs and the S-400 can. He's basically saying the S-400 is a superior missile. Now, the U.S. and NATO are trying to put pressure. They're saying that the weapon is incompatible with the NATO missile defense system, poses a security threat to the bloc. Now, it's all about the money. It's all about the money. And Turkey is starting to get a little hot under the collar and saying if the United States takes any negative actions toward us, we will also take reciprocal steps. We are determined on the S-400 issue. We will not take a step back. It's impossible to cancel the order from Russia. And again, more proof that it's all about the money. There was opposition in Congress on arms sales to Saudi Arabia, and their concern was Saudi war crimes in Yemen and the murder of Jamal Khashoggi might warrant ending those sales. But Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan basically came out and said the U.S. must sell the Saudis all the arms they want, or they'll just go buy them from Russia and China, and we can't have that. So there it is. It's all about making the sale, about getting the money. The United States is accusing North Korea of breaching UN sanctions on the import of refined petroleum via illegal ship-to-ship transfers. And this is a sharp contrast to the warmer rhetoric that had been coming out of the White House directed at Kim Jong-un. But a Security Council diplomat told reporters that the U.S., along with 25 other countries, had complained to the UN Security Council Sanctions Committee, monitoring the country's compliance with the sanctions slapped on the country in 2017. So it's all economic warfare. Okay, we got to take another break for commercials here. And when we come on back, more international news and other insanities.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And the friction, if you will, between China and Canada is continuing. And China is saying it will continue until Meng Wanzhou is released. And basically, the Chinese Foreign Ministry is saying this is all Canada's fault. You know, that they arrested this lady on orders from the United States. And basically, they're saying they're not going to do any business with Justin Trudeau until Canada drops the extradition proceedings against this telecom executive. So that has not resolved itself just yet. Okay, turning to our domestic politics, in between, you know, screams of Iran did it, Iran did it, Iran did it, the corporate media is managing to stick some statements by the political candidates as filler to break the monotony here. And Mayor Pete is doubling down on his desire to scrap the Electoral College, and he says it's undemocratic. Well, it's been democratic for 250 odd years, I think. They're still angry that Hillary lost in 2016. And so they just want to take an axe to our system of government and just whack it until, you know, majority vote wins. And we know what he means by majority vote, because he's also out there saying he wants to ban all voter ID laws. And here is the way he's trying to spin it. He's saying that cynicism is nowhere more warranted than in the black community, where systematic efforts are taking away the right to vote. Well, voter ID laws don't take away your right to vote. Blacks have licenses. They have driver's licenses. What this is all about is being able to get the illegal immigrants to vote next year. That's what this is really all about. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders is leaving her White House job at the end of the month, and she may be going back home to Arkansas to run for governor next year, because after all, Daddy had the job once. And Donald Trump is saying, yeah, you should do it. Should absolutely do that here. Speaking of Donald Trump here, several cities chosen as sites for Donald Trump's 2016 and so far 2020 campaign rallies are saying the campaign has failed to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars owed in venue security costs. And so there's a total of 10 cities. They're looking to collect $841,219 from the U.S. Commander-in-Chief for past event security fees dating back to 2016. This is from a report released by the Center for Public Integrity, a nonprofit investigative journalism organization based in Washington, D.C. Well, time to get out to Sheldon. Have him write another check. We have another caller on the line, Nancy in California. Aloha, Nancy. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. I was actually just calling because I have heard Layla and love her calls. She's articulate, intelligent, and that's all I have to say. I like yours too. I mean, your program, of course. That's why I listen. But she, when she calls, makes an excellent contribution.
Yeah, she's very knowledgeable, and I get a lot of positive emails about her. And sometimes, though, she can take us off topic, and especially with what's going on today in the Gulf of Oman, I really wanted to keep the focus.
Mm-hmm. All right. You know what? When they talk about all these pretenses that have gotten us into wars, I believe 9/11 is one of those as well.
Mm-hmm. Me
you
too.
know, there's not just the Gulf of Tonkin and, excuse me?
I said me too. I'm in agreement.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have a good day. I'll be listening.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are now open. Apparently, we're starting to see over at the Department of Justice, and it looks like under Attorney General Oh, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. But they're starting to look into some of the stuff that was going on here. And according to Ray McGovern, he says that they're starting to sniff around John Brennan and that they may well identify Brennan as fabricator-in-chief of the Russiagate story. And I do wish they would get to the bottom of that. That definitely was an attempt at a coup d'etat. And again, I'm very disappointed in Donald Trump. But I'm interested in getting this republic back to being a republic. And that means we play by the rules. And it's very dangerous to have these high officials in these intelligence agencies just assuming that they can impose their own political agenda on the rest of the country, because they can't. They're not elected. Okay, Jim Acosta had a book signing for his new book, The Enemy of the People, over at Barnes & Nobles in Arlington, Virginia. Nobody showed up. Maybe he should have gone the Costco route the way Hillary Clinton did. CNN's ratings are now so low, they're getting beat by the Hallmark Channel. And they did it to themselves. They did it to themselves. Now, here's an interesting little article. Came out of gurnewsletters.com. And it's basically pointing out corporate media has stopped being real journalism. They simply quote the politicians. They report on what's coming from the Pentagon and whatever. That's it. They're not even being reporters. They're being transcribers. They're being typists. There's more real journalism going on out here in the independent media, where we're looking at things and we're digging at them. We're saying, does this make sense? And very often it does not. We're coming up here on another battle over the debt ceiling, and it's going to be like pro wrestling. They'll snarl at each other and make stink face at each other, and in the end, the debt ceiling will be raised again. But Pelosi is out there saying that there will not be a debt increase unless spending limits are raised. In other words, Pelosi says, we'll let you borrow more money as long as it gets spent on the programs that we like. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is out there saying that unless the Democrats go along with this $4.5 billion border bailout, they're going to be spending cuts on airport security, border inspections, child care centers. So they're just, and we have another caller on the line, Al in Canada. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. You just mentioned something about fake news and CNN. So we got, fake money, fake news, fake leaders. Sports isn't really real anymore. It's just entertainment. News isn't really news. It's entertainment. It's all fake. Is there anything left that's real?
I still think I'm real. This is my real hair.
Besides it.
This is my real hair.
Besides us. Yeah, you got a lot for your age too. You should consider yourself very lucky.
I do. That's because I don't fuss with it a lot. My two younger brothers were always doing the hot comb and the mousse and everything, and they went bald at a very young age.
That's interesting. Yeah, so there's really nothing left. I mean, I had this conversation this morning with a couple of people. Up in Canada, the Raptors won.
Yes.
And I said, big deal. It's not sports, it's entertainment. That's all it is. How do you know the fix isn't in? Can't prove it's not. So, it doesn't really mean anything anyways.
No, it's gladiatorial games. It's distraction for the masses.
That's exactly what it is. That's what I told my boss this morning. It's just like throwing the gladiators in the Coliseum. keep the peasants distracted, entertained. They won't really pay attention to what's really going on. It's sad.
Yep.
It's very sad. That's why, when I found your website about, 10 or 12, maybe 15 years ago, I'm like, wow, where was this thing hiding? And then you started doing the show, and what can I say, Mike? You know what? You're a warrior. You're a warrior.
Yep.
And, I appreciate it. I know a lot of other people appreciate it. I got a bunch of my buddies watching you now, so I hope they call in and, make a pledge. Anyway, that's all I had to say, and I'm going to be listening to the rest of your show. I hope you have a good one. Thanks a lot,
right,
Mike.
Thank you very much. Well, any show that ends with the Lady Claire is always going to be a good show. So we're going to let you go, Al. Thank you very much for the phone call. Getting on back to the economic news here. The May deficit surged to $208 billion with a B dollars just for the month of May, 42% higher than May of last year. So deficit means they spent $208 billion more than they had come in. And that makes the full, for the 8 months of fiscal 2019 is now totaling $739 billion. It's going to hit $1 trillion by the end of the year. We have another caller on the line, Jim in Illinois. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. I'm thinking to myself, if Donald Trump bombs Iran, he's going to have support from the Democrats, and he probably will, because the Democrats are big Israel supporters, and even these Democratic candidates, they aren't talking about the situation in Iran, to my understanding. And plus, it will definitely destroy the economy of America, if not the world.
Well, there's a school of thought out there. In fact, there was an article that we posted at whatreallyhappened.com where experts are saying we might not be able to actually win a war against Iran, which, if you look at how we're bogged down in Afghanistan and bogged down in Syria, Iran's a tough customer, unless the U.S. decides to go nuclear.
Well, not only that, do we have enough soldiers to be on the ground?
No, we really don't. I mean, that's a huge border between Iraq and Iran. That would be the most likely point of the invasion. And I'm sure that the U.S. policy is we're going to use drones and robotic trucks and all the rest of that high-tech whiz-bang. But again, it's dicey. I mean, if you look at the poor performance of America's weapons, we could wind up severely embarrassed.
Well, not only that, though, I read an article where Iraq said they might help Iran, and Russia might get involved, Syria might get involved. It's going to be one big mess.
Yes.
And I think the average American, they aren't even aware of it, or maybe they don't want to be aware of it.
Well, maybe they don't want to be aware of it, but they need to be aware of it. And part of the Riveros Rangers' job is to go on out to people and say, do you know how close we are to war with Iran? And, of course, you're probably going to get people coming back and say, well, Iran put that limpet mine on the tanker, and say, really, do you remember Saddam's nuclear weapons? This is more of the same.
Right. And where's the anti-war movement?
That's been bugging me for a while. I remember when I was a kid in high school and later in college, there was a huge anti-war movement against the war in Vietnam. And I don't know. I think Common Core worked. The kids have been indoctrinated to be obedient to authority and not really think for themselves.
Right. Well, back in the 60s, I was out there protesting against the war in Vietnam. So it's a different time right now, where people either they don't care or else they've been zombified. Who knows? Yeah, I think definitely zombified. So, well, Michael, you take care. Have a good weekend.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. Same to you. Getting on back to the economic news. And I know that Claire's going to want to talk about this a little bit when she comes on in hour number 3 here. But apparently the European Union and Russia are going to ditch the dollar in bilateral transactions. They're just going to go direct from the euro to the ruble and back again. So we'll have a little bit more about that when Claire comes on here. Now, you've been hearing in the news about how the economy is doing wonderful and everybody's just doing really great. Well, somebody just did a survey, Bankrate, and discovered that a quarter of all Americans are now worse off now than before the Great Recession that started in December 2007. Another 25% say they're doing pretty much the same. So just over half believe that life has improved for them since the Great Recession. All right, we're going to take another phone call. Peter in California, I may have to take you through the commercial break. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. I've got a couple things to say about Iran, and I want to start out by saying conversation I had with my sister, who watched some documentary and taken in 1939 or 40, at some rally in Philadelphia with the German American Bund, right? Fifth, what we classified as a fifth column. She says, I couldn't believe there were 20,000 people there. And I said to her, well, was the leader of Germany not invited in front of Congress and came anyways? Did they stand up 29 times and vote? And did they have minders in the audience in front of Congress when this leader who wasn't invited, came there? And from that, I want to get into Iran, if I can.
Okay, well, we're going to have to take a break for commercials here, so just stay on the phone. Going to put you on hold, and when we come back from this next round of commercials, we'll get back to Iran here because that is the hot button issue for today. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Ann, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far 5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We're talking with Peter in California, and you wanted to talk about Iran.
Yeah, and I'm segueing from the fact I'm talking about a fifth column is getting us into that. Layla was absolutely correct. There are overlapping, but the vast majority of influence brought to bear that have gotten us into this situation is from Israel and its fifth column here, as well as the Israeli lobby's almost retarded younger brother and little brother for a lobby, the Saudi oil lobby. They're the only people that want this war, Mike, and it's amazing. Even in the military, I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. The Navy and the Army and the Marine Corps, the Navy knows they can't do anything about the Persian Gulf and the Straits of Hormuz. The Army and the Marine Corps know the same thing. They can't win a ground war over there. It's absolutely absurd, and they know it, and they can't do it. The Air Force, of course, is always foursquare into getting into it because they just fly by, and it's just like a drive-by shooting to them, but nothing ever gets done. But they can do what they do, and nothing ever gets done by it except to get us into trouble and kill a lot of people. But nevertheless, none of the countries, Pakistan doesn't want it, Jordan does not want it, Turkey does not want it, Iran does not want it. China and Russia have both made noises that are pro-Iran. Japan, as you talked about earlier, is going a little off our reservation, and becoming taking more of an Iranian view of this. Everybody who's got these oil embargoes that have been put in place and pressured to put in place by the Israeli lobby, by the way, the same people that can get all the state legislatures to vote away your First Amendment rights, in 26 state legislatures, and that hold their cabinet meetings in Israel and all that. They're the only ones doing this. And you can maybe put the Brits in there, but the Brits are small potatoes as a lobby compared to the Israelis.
Yes.
But they're small potatoes, as are the Saudis comparatively, and they own us, man. And here we are again. That limpet mine thing, that's right up their alley. They've got those German submarines.
Yes.
They've got naval commandos. All that stuff's going on over there. I don't believe a bit of it. Even that ridiculous tape, I'm sure you watched that.
Yes.
The surveillance tapes that we have on these drones and satellites have such fabulous resolution that from 100 miles up, they can tell what kind of pack of cigarettes you have in your chest pocket. That's how good the resolution is. And we've got that thing that they can't even put facial recognition on it or anything like that. And who knows where that boat came from or where it was going and who was on it. I mean, if you look at that film, it's nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
So
there's nothing there. And
like
I said,
just a film of,
had they really been there to retrieve a limpet mine in an unknown state, the boat wouldn't have been full of people. There would have been the boat driver and the demolitions guy, and that would have been it, because everybody else would have wanted to say, we don't want to take the risk of being blown up.
Yeah, exactly. Do I hear music going on? Or?
Yeah, you hear music going on. We got to take a break for station identification. Thank you for the call, Peter, and we'll be right back.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we're talking about the economy. And right now, again, we're constantly being assured by corporate media that the economy is wonderful. We know the stock market is being driven up to tremendous heights, and this being Friday, I'm certain that they got their traditional Friday happy ending. Oh, actually, no, they ended in the red. Imagine my shock. So probably that's because of the upset over in the Gulf of Oman, which shot up oil prices here. But according to this article that came out of Investment Watch blog, 30% of Americans need a second job just to make ends meet. So that's the reality that's out there. Now, a little bit of good news. Okay, there's this California furniture and hardware company is going to expand its manufacturing in the United States thanks to Trump's tariffs on Chinese imports. Its store is called Restoration Hardware, and they offer luxury furnishing collection from dining room tables to home decor. 35% of its products being made in China last fiscal year, and they're going to cut it down to about 25 to 30%. Not a significant drop, but at least it's a beginning to get people thinking about, yeah, let's get back in here and start making stuff here. All right, I want to spend a little time here talking about the F-35. It is a boondoggle with a capital boon. And I think this headline that came out of the Daily Beast really says it all. America is stuck with a $400 billion stealth fighter that can't fight. And apparently when the Pentagon was getting ready to place a major order for the various versions of the aircraft, a whole bunch of reports came out from within the military itself just saying there's a problem, and it has to do with what are called Category 1 flaws. And that means Category 1 means it is a flaw that is serious enough that it could wreck a mission, it could wreck the airplane, it could kill the pilot. And apparently, if it tries to climb at a steep angle, the plane could tumble out of control. Some versions of the F-35 can't accelerate to supersonic speed without melting their own tails or shedding the expensive coating that helps to give the planes their radar evading qualities. So these are revelations coming from like Defense News. And apparently it's flaws that previously only Lockheed Martin and the plane's foreign buyers knew about. Zero Hedge F-35 program is screwed up. That's not the word that they use, but I have to avoid certain words on this here radio. And it says the F-35 puts American pilots in a severe dogfight disadvantage. And apparently when the F-35B lands vertically on very hot days where the air is going to be thin, the older engines are unable to produce the required thrust to keep the jet airborne, which means it can come down in a very hard landing. After doing certain maneuvers, F-35B and F-35C pilots are not always able to completely control the aircraft's pitch, roll, and yaw. Supersonic flight in excess of Mach 1.2 can cause structural damage. There's a good one. And apparently the F-22 is not the only airplane that has a problem with its breathing system, because apparently every once in a while the F-35 will spike the cabin pressure, which causes serious trauma to the pilots because the air pressure just goes way, way up very, very quickly. So if the F-35A and F-35B blow a tire on landing, the impact could also take out both hydraulic lines and pose a loss of aircraft risk. Apparently, if the plane is maneuvering above a 20-degree angle of attack, it has problems. And there's yet another issue. Apparently, in early 2018, multiple F-35A flights out of Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska were disrupted when pilots received warnings that a key battery in the plane was failing mid-flight. The pilots were forced to land as quickly as possible and switch out the battery, which of course takes flying hours, raising the cost for maintenance. And they're not sure if the batteries are really failing or if it was just the extreme cold weather fooled a sensor. So they're having to fix that one. And here is a real good one. Okay, the night vision system for the F-35. Apparently, the screen has these horizontal bands, striations. And because of them, the pilots can't always see the horizon, especially on moonless nights. This thing is a joke, and you got to pay for it. At extremely high altitudes, the Navy and Marine Corps versions of the F-35 jet can only fly at supersonic speeds for short bursts of time. We already talked about the structural damage and loss of stealth capability. This makes it impossible for the Navy's F-35C to conduct supersonic intercepts. Thing is just an absolute joke. All right, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. Article coming on out from Newsweek, no less. There's a new report that came on out written by Chris Doherty of the Center for New American Security, and it said that America needs to develop a new way of war more suited to conflict with the world's great powers, and saying that America's current military planning for potential conflicts with Russia and China is flawed. And it says the Pentagon's enormous budget, and it is, will be going to waste unless it undertakes a major strategic overhaul. Well, you have never seen inertia until you've seen the Pentagon. It's going to be very, very hard to get those changes to go through. So they're going from a counterinsurgency focus to one of great power competition. But Doherty argued the Defense Department is still investing huge amounts of resources in flawed concepts, like, for example, the F-35. Apparently, there's a leading U.S. military magazine that says Russia is years ahead in missile technology. In fact, they have some weapons that have rendered much of the U.S. arsenal irrelevant. See, the Russians do it smart. Here in the U.S., it's all about making money. It's all about, getting the funding and the budget to make something. And again, there's that wonderful movie out there, The Pentagon Wars. It's based on a true story. And I understand it's online somewhere. And if you haven't seen it, you ought to take a look, because it does provide an inside look at how weapons procurement actually works. So the House Armed Services Committee has passed a $733 billion with a B version of the annual military spending bill. The vote was 33 to 24 along party lines. They're going to send this version to the House floor for a vote. Then they're going to have to reconcile it with the Senate version. Apparently, one of the areas in which they disagree. The House version wants to drop the funding for the low-yield nuclear missiles and to bar their deployment. And the Senate version says they want those little baby nukes. Now, over at Boeing, or actually at American Airlines, they have come up with a plan for convincing consumers that the Boeing 737 MAX aircraft in its fleet are safe for flight. They're going to make their executives fly on them. And hopefully see how it goes. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Alrighty. Department of Homeland Security, once again a confirmation. Border crossers and illegal aliens are being released into the interior of the United States without going through basic medical examinations and disease tests. This is coming from Acting Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kevin McAleenan. And apparently, in written testimony to the Senate Judiciary Committee, McAleenan admitted thousands of border crossers and illegal aliens, they're not being screened. And he said the public health risk. Family units are released into our communities with unknown vaccination status and without a standard medical examination for communicable diseases of public health concern. So this gets us back to something that I think we ought to be paying attention to, because these African migrants from the Congo were allowed on through without an Ebola screening. And probably you don't remember it because it didn't get a lot of news coverage. There was actually an Ebola outbreak here in the United States back in 2014. And there was this one patient, a man from West Africa, visited the hospital on 2 occasions. The first time they said, you're just having the flu. The original patient died, and 2 nurses caring for him caught it, and it just overwhelmed the entire hospital. So it has been here before. Okay, down in Memphis, they're having some major rioting going on. I think last report I saw, 36 people have been injured. And the riot was started when federal police shot and killed a black man, Brandon Weber, and he was killed in this shootout, and that's just triggered all the black community to just rise up and say, oh, it's white cop, black suspect. This guy was no angel. We suspected of shooting a Mississippi man back on June 3rd, then stealing the victim's car in Hernando, Mississippi, and then using that car to ram the police car. So maybe before you start screaming racist, 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 you need to actually look at what's going on down and say, yeah, this is not the best representative of the black community. Because it's looking like right now the black community is saying, we don't care if they're criminals. We don't care if they're killing people. You know, as long as they're black, we don't want the cops to touch them. And that's not a good public image. Not a good sense of community here. Over in Flint, Michigan, the Attorney General has dropped all pending criminal charges related to the Flint water contamination crisis. He's going to restart the investigation. To date, no official has been held accountable for what happened. All those people got sick. Alrighty, Instagram has been hit by a major global outage, and apparently the app began experiencing problems around 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, a little while ago. And of course, people are complaining they can't post photos, they can't send messages. And this is not the first time it's happened. Over in Belgium, There's an aircraft parts maker, ASCO. They've been hit by a ransomware attack that started last week. And ASCO has 4 manufacturing plants in Belgium, the US, Canada, and Germany. It employs 1,500 people. The company's products are used by most aircraft manufacturers, including Airbus, Boeing, and Lockheed Martin. And according to media reports, ASCO's machines were infected with an unidentified piece of ransomware on Friday, and the company's having trouble restoring operations. And apparently it's interrupted their supply chains. They're having trouble getting products to customers, and they've put most of their employees on temporary leave. All right, let's take another phone call. Dustin in New Jersey, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I just had one quick thing. Did you mention Broadcom today yet?
No.
About how they lost $2 billion and $1 billion of it from Huawei sales.
Okay.
So it's their stock was down today. I was looking and they said it was $2 billion loss, and $1 billion was just from the Huawei thing alone. And remember, I think they have 60%. They sell 60% of their chips to China, and I don't know what the percentage is to Huawei, but so that they probably going to kiss that goodbye eventually if the sanction tariffs remain.
Yeah, it's backfiring horribly.
And did you mention the trade deficit?
Yes,
no,
the budget deficit, not the trade deficit.
Yeah, the trade deficit's at like 738. It went up, so I don't think that's winning, Mike.
No, that's not winning.
But that's all I got to say today, Mike. Have a good rest of the show.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. I think I said it earlier in the week that we seem to have devolved into a nation of sound bites. If it sounds good, get it out on the TV and media and just go with it. And I am continually disturbed by the apparent lack of careful analysis from all these decisions that are being made. It sounds really good. We'll do this. We're going to go and it's not working very well. Getting on back to the world of computers, MailChimp, which is an online hosted email list sending service, has apparently been caught blocking all emails that seek to inform recipients about vaccine safety issues. And this is affecting dozens of local vaccine awareness organizations who had built email announcement lists using the MailChimp subscription engine. Now they cannot send emails to their own lists. I have been hearing it from some of the people who write into my show, who will write in and say, did you get the email I sent about XYZ? And I'll say, no, I didn't. And they'll say, well, I'll try and resend it with a link. And then a little later, they'll say, did you get it that time? No. So unfortunately, we're starting to see even the email companies are now starting to feel they have a right to filter what goes through their systems. So apparently, MailChimp is now operating as a branch of the CDC's vaccine deep state, enforcing its speech police to prevent anyone from questioning the official narrative on vaccines. I would imagine that probably the vaccine companies, who have a lot of money, are simply going over to these operators and saying, we'll pay you so much money if you'll just put a filter in to block all emails that warn about vaccine safety. And if the owners of those mail companies are less than ethical and moral and scrupulous, they'll probably go along with it. Everybody has a price. All right, Amazon is being sued over Alexa child recordings here in the United States. And the 2 U.S. cases allege the firm lacked consent to create voice prints that could let it keep track of a youngster's use of Alexa-enabled devices and build up a vast level of details about the child's life. Amazon said it only stores data once a device owner has granted permission to do so, and it says parents can delete a child's profile and recordings. Now, Israel has come up with a reason there was such a boycott of the Eurovision. They're saying there was no real boycott. It was bots. It was so somebody set up this bot network and fake accounts to just make it look like people wanted to boycott Eurovision. Still whining, still casting around for somebody to blame here. Okay, actress Jessica Biel has joined California's anti-vaccine campaign. The big stink out there is that California wants to end medical exemptions for vaccines without approval from a public, meaning government, health officer. And she was out there with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the founder of Children's Health Defense, and they're basically saying people need to have a choice. They really do. Okay, we got to take another break for commercials. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women and children alike.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Pardon me. And over in Illinois, Governor J.B. Pritzker has ordered the state's Medicaid program to begin covering the costs of sex reassignment surgeries for transgender people. And apparently the Illinois Department of Health Care and Family Services will develop administrative rules to offer coverage to people diagnosed with gender dysphoria to pay for genital and breast-related surgeries. And Pritzker came on out and said, healthcare is a right, not a privilege, and I'm committed to ensuring our LGBTQ community and all Illinoisans have access to that right. Well, I understand Medicaid for real illnesses and injuries, but we're talking cosmetic surgery here. And I remember when I was younger, that was considered off limits for any kind of Medicare, Medicaid, Medi-Cal, whatever. It's elective. Man. We've been talking about glyphosate and how ubiquitous it's becoming in our environment. And most people understand Roundup is sprayed on Roundup Ready crops that are designed to withstand glyphosate. It actually turns out many farmers will use Roundup on crops like wheat, oat, edible beans, and other crops just before the harvest to make it easier and cheaper to harvest them. So it's being used all kinds of places. And it's all about increased profit. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. All right, let's look and see what's been happening for apparently the Pinterest whistleblower was on Tucker Carlson about Pinterest censorship and getting fired here. This one is apparently there was an all-ages drag show at an Iowa public library that featured children in the audience handing money to performers as tips. Why can't we let these children be children? Why do we have to drag them into adulthood, especially in adulthood with, and I know I'm going to get hate email for this, somewhat distorted views of the world? Where you have this idea that a biological male can call himself a woman and compete against women in sports, and of course, win. It's just amazing here. Apparently, Fox News is continuing to help Democratic candidates. Donna Brazile is urging viewers to embrace Joe Biden. Apparently, he is the anointed one. He's going to be the Democratic candidate next year unless Hillary steps back in, which, I don't know. I hope she's not going to. That would put me in a very awkward situation. Here's a clever idea. Kellogg's is using rejected cereal to create a line of beer to reduce food waste. And that's a really, really good thing, because we do, even with food shortages staring us right in the face, we waste so much food. You know, sometimes you might want to just sneak out back of your supermarket and take a look in those trash dumpsters and just see how much food is just being thrown away. Okay. The Los Angeles Times came out with an article commenting about the terrible state of homelessness in Mexico. And of course, they don't talk about the homelessness, you know, right in Los Angeles. They want you focused somewhere else. Over at MSNBC, apparently there's been a little bit of a management shakeup, and apparently, like CNN, the channel is hemorrhaging viewers following the Robert Mueller debacle. They bet everything on that. Rachel Maddow did. They were just so convinced this was going to be it. They were going to get Trump. They had the goods, and they just lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. And it's cost them viewers. It's driving their audience over to the independent media. And probably is one of the reasons why this claim that Iran was behind this attack on these tankers isn't getting a lot of traction with the public. All right, we got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Okay, Joe Biden may be in a little bit of hot water. Now, if you believe the Democrats, abortion is going to be the deciding issue for 2020. Others are saying it's going to be immigration. But the Democrats are definitely pushing abortion as an issue because it's one that they think is a winner. And unfortunately, a video has surfaced of Joe Biden back in 2006 in which he says, "I do not view abortion as a choice and a right. It's always a tragedy." So they're going to be using that against him. Apparently, this first Democratic national debate is going to be moderated by Rachel Maddow. And apparently this triggered off a tweet storm of people who don't think it's a really good idea. And maybe they're trying to repair Rachel Maddow's image and reputation. And nothing like being a debate moderator will do that here. There's a big stink coming up now here because Trump has reopened a former Japanese internment camp for immigrants. It's at a fort in Oklahoma. And of course, what the media is glossing over is Obama did the exact same thing. Obama did the exact same thing. We really do need that wall. And it's obvious that Trump, for whatever his reasons are, he's dropped the ball on the immigration situation. There's a lot of talk, but nothing's getting done. And that, I think, describes so much of our country right now. They talk about vaccine safety, nothing's getting done. They talk about honest elections, nothing's getting done. It's a very impotent administration, if you will. Now, a little bit of good news. I don't know what chance of success this has, but Elizabeth Warren is going to introduce a bill canceling up to $50,000 in student debt for most borrowers. Now, if they borrowed more than $50,000, they'll still be on the hook for that overage there. I think that would go a long way to helping some of these millennials be able to basically leave home, get a job, and start their lives over here. But college these days, like so much else in this country, it's been turned into a racket. They lure you on in and say, you're going to have all these high-paying jobs when you get on out. Just go ahead and take out the student loans and it all will be well. And the kids go through college. They graduate. The jobs aren't there. Most of our really high-tech jobs have gone overseas. What's left here in our economy is service sector, minimum wage stuff. And it's a trap. Now, the Koch brothers and Soros are out there campaigning, if you will, lobbying, if you will, saying that the internet must be censored. This idea of freedom of speech has outlived its time. They wrote that thing 200 years ago. And again, they're starting to understand, while the internet is out here, while it's free, they can't control the population with lies and fraud because we see the frauds. Like that overloaded boat on that very blurry video this morning. People spot the problems, they share them with each other. And if the ultra powerful, the ultra rich, the elites, they want to get back in control of the narrative. They want to go back to that wonderful world of the 1950s where the government would tell the corporate media something, the corporate media would tell you, you would believe it, everybody would be happy. But that world is gone, and I doubt it's coming back anytime soon. You know, but we're seeing all, and it's not just for politics, it's for business, like that chimp mail, blocking emails that talk about vaccine safety. That's to protect the profits of the pharmaceutical corporations. We have descended into true fascism. where corporate power and government power is aligned together against the general population. That's the classic definition. Okay, we got a caller on the line. Mark in Philadelphia. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. Concerning that F-35, which appears to be, there's a lot of engineers that worked on that thing. I mean, come on. They didn't know that this thing had flaws or was going to have flaws and that they can't fix it by now. It looks to me like it's a golden goose, and every now and then it lays another egg because they have to keep putting more and more money into it. And then it sounds like, sounds like what you went through with your vehicle there, that Nissan product where, when the control system started to fail, you had to take it back to the dealer, and it ends up costing you an arm and a leg. And you got to wonder about these products. So now they've, of course, I think they've been doing this with the military-industrial complex for a long time.
Yes.
But I want to bring. I don't know if you've read this article that's on the RBM's website. How neocon billionaire Paul Singer is driving the outsourcing of U.S. tech jobs to. And you open it up, and it's to Israel.
Yes.
If you'll recall, this some time ago, and I've been calling about these outsourcing of jobs because I'm in the high tech area myself. So so it's interesting. Had you read that article?
I had scanned over it. I didn't read it in depth.
Okay. Well, I encourage you and all the listeners to go read that article on RBN right now. There's a lot of good articles, but this is really good. So what we find out is about this something called Unit 8200, where Israel sends their men and women, young men and women, into the military. But then beyond that, they can go into this Unit 8200, where they then learn about all kinds of high tech this and high tech that, and they're prepping them to infiltrate corporations. Let's see, where would that be? Oh yeah, over here. They infiltrate our nation's corporations and get into strategic positions of influence, decision making, these things. So now, while they send their young men and women over here to do that, our young men and women, go over there to fight their wars. Okay, and while they sit back, and their snipers are well trained, and they sit back and just pick people off at a distance, but they put they are putting us, our guys and gals, in harm's way.
Yes.
And people need to read this. They need to pass it out. I've already copied it off. I've sent it to many of my veteran friends, and who, by the way, many of them don't even know about the USS Liberty. I'm really shocked.
Yeah.
That more veterans don't know about this. But when I do bring it to their attention, they get a big puzzled look on their, and then they start, you can tell they're getting upset. They're very upset about this. So this whole deal about Israel, I mean, and this article talks about how the big high-tech companies have shifted. They're laying off people over here, but then they send the jobs over there. They're even building new facilities over in Israel.
Yes.
To do what we were doing before. So,
it's a brain drain.
Yeah. So, and then along with that, like I shared this with you before, I believe, about Accenture, who's one of the subcontractors of the U.S. government, and they're the ones that are doing the H-1B visa programs to bring over Indians and Chinese and whoever else, all these people that are supposedly smarter than we are. And I don't buy it. I know that we haven't got enough trained younger people coming through, but that doesn't mean we're not smart as smarter than them. So this whole thing is by design. It's implosion. It's creative destruction, and it's benefiting Israel. And it's benefiting Israel and putting them in the power seat. And this is what I see as also being set up. I see that we may come to a catastrophe here in the United States, and then there'll be a call for that governing body that wants to keep peace all around the world. And that would be the United Nations. There'll be a call for the United Nations to get involved to settle the disputes, because America just can't figure it out, because we've become our leadership is so reckless, and we're violating all these people's rights, and especially the illegal invaders. So that's my take on it. they're going to try to call the United Nations in to settle all this. And we all know who the United Nations really is. They're communists, founded by the Rockefellers. So that's how I see the United Nations. When the whole Rwanda thing happened in the mid-90s, the United Nations, everybody thought they would step in to prevent the genocide from one tribe totally wiping out the other. A few of them showed up, and then they decided they were going to stand down. They weren't going to become involved. So so folks, if you believe in the United Nations, that's their peacekeeping mission, right?
Yes.
To keep the peace, which is total horse crap. They don't keep the peace. They're going to be implemented, I believe, at some point. So what do you think about that? What do you think? Do you think that things will deteriorate to such a degree that could be a possibility? They try to call in the UN troops here.
I don't know about calling in UN troops here, but things are definitely deteriorating. And again, looking at the rioting that's taking place in Memphis right now, I would hope that the black community would understand that the individual who was shot, tragic as that was, he was not a good representative of the black community. But if they're adopting this attitude of we don't care what he's done, white cop kills black kid, it's a bad thing, then our culture is starting to really polarize, and that could definitely lead to the dissolution of our society. And at some point, they might call in the UN soldiers, or they might call in who knows, but things are breaking down, and we could see a major economic correction. I think if the United States goes ahead and invades Iran, it's not going to be a slam dunk like they want. They're going to be in another quagmire, and I think they're going to have to start a draft, and if that will probably energize the anti-war movement when they bring back the draft. So as far as the United Nations is concerned, the United Nations ultimately are globalists, and they're certainly willing to use the U.S. military for whatever it is they're doing around the world. But ultimately, for the globalist agenda, for the New World Order to come about, this nation has to go away. So does Russia, and so does China.
Exactly. Here's another one. I don't know if you're aware of this, Michael, that UNESCO, which is under the United Nations,
yes,
okay, they've sponsored a lot of people from foreign nations to train them in certain fields, such as high tech. I happen to know one. He happens to be my instructor at the community college because I'm taking a course in a specialty course in robotics. Okay, and by the way, I've got a backup plan to throw a monkey wrench just in case, because we know where that could go.
Okay.
Anyway, but he's from Liberia, and he bragged about how he was sponsored by the United Nations. They paid his full run to become a electronics engineer, right? And now he just left to go to a 1-week conference down in Tampa, and he's going to be training some other engineers down there in something. And who's it sponsored by? It's sponsored by UNESCO. See, so now he's at their beck and call because he's beholden to them.
Yes.
And he doesn't know that they're the enemy of freedom. They're the enemy of freedom. The United Nations is the strong arm of the group that's the communists that's the enemy of freedom. So, but I guess he's getting paid. So, and they paid his way. So I guess he's beholden to them. So, I guess that's more important. But there are many who've been trained by UNESCO, and and they're here. They're in the United States. Many of them are here. There are other places as well. But anyway, I don't know if were you aware of that?
And they're taking positions that they're taking positions that Americans could have filled.
Exactly. So what do we do about it? I don't know. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Michael.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open. Apparently, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has her knickers in a twist over next year's census, where there's going to be a question about citizenship. And she's saying it's an unspeakable horror, it's an atrocity. and we shouldn't ask anybody about their citizenship. Well, yeah, we really should, and there's a very good reason. The census, if you go back to the Constitution, the census exists to draw the congressional districts. And given that only legal American citizens are supposed to be voting in those districts, it would make sense to know who actually is a legal citizen in that district and who is not. But there's this real huge push from the Democrats to just make everybody equal, everybody able to vote, and then, you know, lure the illegals with promises of free stuff. It's real bread and circuses stuff. We were talking with that other caller about gladiatorial games being revived here in the form of sporting events. Yeah, and now we've got the bread and circuses. So it's one of the ways that, like ancient Rome, I think this country's headed down. And everybody's fiddling while Rome burns. Okay, apparently Donald Trump wants to tinker with the new design of Air Force One. He's going to get a new Air Force One. And Democrats are threatening to block him from changing Jackie Kennedy's color scheme. That color scheme that is on Air Force One, Air Force Two, and the rest of that fleet was decided on by Jackie Kennedy when JFK was in the White House, and it's sort of been traditional to keep that. So now the Democrats have got something else that they can flog Donald Trump with and say, no, you can't have it, you can't have it. Boy, they have become such children over there in Washington, D.C. Maybe we ought to just lock the doors on the Capitol building and throw in some bouncy balls and some Play-Doh and stuff like that, and let them have their tantrum. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials. We'll be back after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Now, over in Virginia Beach a while back, there was this deadly mass shooting. And apparently one of the victims was named Kate Nixon. And apparently because the neighborhood was kind of rough, she actually spoke with her husband about taking a gun to her job for protection from Craddock, but decided not to because of a city policy that prevents employees from bringing weapons to work, which obviously did not deter Dwayne Craddock here. Now, you have to wonder what's going on with education here. Apparently, there is this Austin Independent School District, and apparently they rent space to the Celebration Church, and they've decided to use that money, about $10,000, to send kids to a gay pride parade. Now, I am sorry, but how is this going to help them get high-paying jobs to pay back the student loans? Whatever happened to reading, writing, and arithmetic? And you're seeing about, all these drag queen reading hours at the museums. And, whatever consenting adults want to do, fine. But these are kids. They're very impressionable. They're very confused at this stage of life. And I don't think this is good for them. I really don't. Okay, out in California, former NFL running back Herschel Walker basically went public over a proposed California plan to pay for health insurance for thousands of illegal immigrants. Apparently, California Governor Gavin Newsom and state Democrats have agreed to this plan that would fund health care for illegal immigrants under the state's Medi-Cal plan. And Walker basically came on and said, we've got other issues that we're dealing with, like the legal citizens living on the streets. It's estimated that this program will cost $98 million a year to provide free health insurance to illegal immigrants. And that's part of the problem. They get up here, they get in, they get free stuff. They're getting a better deal from the government than we legal citizens are. Are you getting free health insurance from the government? I don't think so. Anyway, over in Iowa, this is kind of a cool story. Apparently, this Iowa school offers gym credits to students who are willing to help the elderly and disabled residents with manual labor. I think that's a very, very good idea, and I think it should be emulated across the country. And by the way, for all you global warming cultists out there, the Greenland glacier is growing. It is not melting. Okay, there should be some music in there somewhere, I think. And we're going to take a break here for station identification, and we'll be back with the lovely Lady Claire. Oh. Okay.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And of course, Fox News is still going on blaming Iran. Claire said you have an update on the story.
Oh, yes, I do. When something happens in terms of geopolitical timing, it is never an accident, Mike.
Yep.
And what was happening toward the end of this week before these accusations came up, Tehran was desperately trying to get a seat at the table of the Shanghai Cooperative Council in Kyrgyzstan. Well, these alleged bombings have just blown that the heck out of the room. So if you're wondering about timing, folks, that's why it happened at this time.
I think it happened for a wide variety of reasons, but yes, it certainly didn't help the situation.
No, it didn't. I am hoping that calmer minds will decide that this is a really bad idea, but just because something is the most ham-fistedly, pig-headededly stupid thing the U.S. government could do is never any
They're
guarantee.
Gonna go ahead and do it.
They're going to do it. Okay.
You went over and...
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
Here,
attack.
let me give you back the cursor.
Thank you, dear. Okay. Now, this is rather new, and we don't hear much about it in the U.S. press, but apparently the EU, the European Union, and Russia have reportedly agreed to ditch the greenback in bilateral transactions. Now, this decision comes just a few days after Russian President Putin slammed the US dollar as a tool of pressure while speaking at the St. Petersburg International Forum, Economic Forum, SPIEF for short. And apparently, Russia's China Finance Minister Anton Siluanov and Markos Sefcovic, Vice President of the European Commission for the Energy Union, have agreed to set up a working group that is going to deal with a transition to use the ruble and the euro in direct bilateral payments. You know, honey, somehow I don't think Foggy Bottom is going to be too happy about that.
No, of course they're not going to be happy about this.
Oh my gosh, you know.
The whole point of all of these wars is to drag the world back to Bretton Woods, where everybody goes through the dollar. The dollar is king.
Not
We
so much
rule
anymore.
you with this little piece of paper.
Yeah. And both sides have reportedly emphasized that the use of national currencies will be mutually beneficial as it reduces certain risks for entrepreneurs in Russia and the EU. well, like I said, not very happy about it. And Russia is also not very happy. It says that a new U.S. military deployment to Poland, announced by President Donald Trump on Wednesday, would force Moscow to take retaliatory steps.
Meaning they're going to be moving their forces up to the border.
Yeah. Now, what Trump has promised the Polish president, Andrzej Duda, on Wednesday is that he had decided to send an additional 1,000 troops to Poland to join the 4,000 forces already there. And the U.S. is also going to be sending a squadron of MQ-9 Reaper intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance drones as well. Now, this announcement couldn't help but eliciting a response from Russia, which said on Thursday that its military is tracking these announcements very closely.
I imagine so.
Yeah, and the Kremlin guy, a spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, said Moscow is analyzing the information and is doing what is necessary so that such steps in no way threaten the Russian Federation's security. And he also made the observation that Trump's move probably reflected aggressive intentions. I would say that's a very mild characterization of that.
Yeah, I think it's a gift of understatement.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so obvious, Mike, to me that Trump and the U.S. government are leading this country into a completely avoidable war with Russia. There are moments when I could scream, but I found that screaming doesn't help. The problem is stopping screaming, as we both know.
Yes.
The only thing that will help get this sorted through is logical, thoughtful, pushing this government away from war and toward peaceful ways of the U.S. getting what it wants without firing a single shot.
Well, the problem is the United States has lost the means to get what it wants.
Yeah.
We've let our manufacturing decay over the last 30 years.
Yep.
Nobody wants our GMO agriculture.
Oh, Lord, no.
And so what the U.S. wants is for the dollar to return to being king of the world.
Yeah, yeah.
And the only way they can get that to happen is, again, another war.
Oh, did you cover this?
I covered that one.
Yeah.
It's a big whoopsie, twice in a month.
I mean, come on, guys. We should be better than that, And I just have to shake my head. It's really, really awful.
That was a goof there.
Yeah. There is a report on the
Unfortunately, I tore into the F-35 pretty good.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and we have a shout
Yes,
out.
and we're going to do a shout out now to our honor affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And yeah, I mean, the F-35, talk about, it's a boondoggle. They ought to basically just cancel the program right now, take the planes they've already built, put them in museums.
Yeah.
Because it's a terrible aircraft.
Yeah, it's really bad. And so my question is, how does this keep on happening with American weaponry? Well, in my view, I think that what happens, companies like Lockheed Douglas, Raytheon, they contribute very heavily to national political campaigns. So
well, they do that, but the other thing they do is they'll subcontract components for the aircraft into various voting districts, which makes those politicians look good.
Even though the aircraft can't fly.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, breaking up the aircraft into that many components being built in that many locations all across the country is probably one of the reasons it's got so many problems.
Yeah. I would like to see a government that would not accept any money from these aerospace companies because there's a little bit too much comfort on the other side of these, contributions.
Well, that's never going to happen.
I know. I know.
Most politicians would sell their own mother for $1.
Yeah, yeah. And it's really unfortunate in terms of American weaponry. The Russians and the Chinese are outproducing us with really superior products, as we've seen in Syria with Russia and the Defense 400 unit. And that President Trump is even arguing with President Erdogan in Turkey about this. I think it's a really bad moment. It's an ugly American moment for our defense industry, and I sort of wish that he would back off.
Well, I mean, I love the fact that, over in Turkey, they just said the Patriot can't do what we need it to do.
Yeah.
The S-400 can.
Yeah, right.
But again, it's all about making the sales and making the money.
Mhm.
We had another story that we talked about earlier today where, as you know, there was a movement in Congress to block weapon sales to Saudi Arabia because of their war crimes in Yemen
Yeah.
and because of the Khashoggi murder.
Mhm.
And the acting Secretary of Defense came on out and said, look, we have to sell Saudi Arabia everything they want to buy, or they'll just go buy it from Russia and China.
Yeah. I mean, the bombs and missiles are purchased to do something, which is kill brother and sister human beings.
Yes.
And apparently that has no standing in the argument, does it, Mike?
No, for people who work in the military-industrial complex,
Mhm.
they've made that moral adjustment a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I just build them. I'm not using them. It's not my responsibility.
Mhm.
But I think in a way it is, because defense contractors have a tendency to promote and encourage war to boost their business.
Yes, absolutely. We had another interesting approval. A congressional panel approved $733 billion with a B military bill, but it dropped the low-yield nukes. And once the House has passed a version of this bill, it must be reconciled with the Senate version. Now, that's going to be a little bit tricky because there are some major differences in the bills in some key suspects of debate. And one of the biggest issues is the question of low-yield nuclear weapons, or tactical nukes.
The tactical
nukes. The House bill ends funding for the low-yield nuclear missiles and bars their deployment. A last-minute Republican amendment in committee to preserve the weapons failed. And low-yield nukes are intended by the Pentagon to be more usable tactical weapons that would have a much lower threshold for deployment. This was the source of support among the hawks, but also the source of a lot of opposition on the part of the other side, with concern that the more usable nukes the U.S. had, it would usher in an era where people would feel that this low yield
Nuclear warfare is acceptable.
It's routine. No, it's not. No, it's not. And I think it's obscene, the amount of money that we are spending on these weapons.
Yep.
When there is so much other work we have to be doing as a nation.
And of course, absent a real war,
Yeah.
all this money is basically dead-ended.
Yeah.
They make the weapon, they put it in a warehouse, it just sits there.
Yeah. They had a very interesting article come through Zero Hedge, and it talks about public schools' purpose is indoctrination.
Yes.
Now, this is written by Sofia Carbone via humanevents.com. And apparently all these present-day academia is supposed to do is indoctrination. This is a fairly bold thesis, but the evidence is there to make it seem right.
Well,
and
if you look at Common Core,
yeah,
it was
oh
all
my
indoctrination.
Lord. Yeah, it just, I think you and I, at the ages we are, and as we know, I just turned 70 this last May, we were probably one of the last generations to get anything approaching a decent education.
I would tend to agree with you.
And it's interesting to me to watch about the violence in public schools. You never see it in a Kuhlman school. You don't see it in a Waldorf school. You don't see it in a Montessori school. Why is it only the public schools? What do you think?
Something about the way public schools are being administered. Part of the problem is, and we've seen this in many school districts, especially out in California, there are vast sums of money being poured into the school districts, but it all stays at the top. And very little of it gets down to the classroom, very little of it gets to the teachers. You look at some of those school district supervisors, they're making huge salaries.
Yeah. That reminds me also of a very heartbreaking story that I read yesterday and posted. Apparently, there was an 11-year-old special needs kid in a Chicago school. And not only were the kids taunting and tormenting him, but his teachers were encouraging it.
That's pretty
Swear.
sick.
The kid was so depressed he got home, tried to hang himself in the bathroom, and now he's going to be a vegetable for the rest of his life. And the mother is suing, and well, she should. I don't understand this, people. I used to deal with special needs children. It was my first job out of college. And with love and structure and encouragement, things can be better for them. Maybe not 100% ever, but they can be better.
Now, I understand that children can be cruel,
Yeah.
relative to the classmates,
Uh-huh.
but for the teachers to be encouraging this,
they
should be fired.
They should be fired. They should never, never, ever. They should never be allowed to teach again, if this proves true. And I remember years ago when I was at this job at a private facility, I had a client named Alonzo. Now, Alonzo was a fraternal twin, and his twin was absolutely bright up in the moment, and Alonzo was severely autistic. And I remember watching a simple thing. We were working with other teachers and people at the school to get these kids to be able to feed themselves. But I was watching how this particular teacher was trying to force him to use his right hand, when anything he did that looked like that, where he was creating some kind of imagery or whatever, he was a southpaw. They just didn't know. Now, it took months, but finally we got Alonzo to be able to scoop his cereal, get it to his mouth, get it in, and put the spoon back in. And it was months, but he got there. And like I said, encouragement, love, and structure can really help these kids a lot.
Yes.
Now we're going from another article in Zero Hedge, from dollar hegemony to global warming, globalization, glyphosate, and doctrines of consent. Now, this came from Colin Todhunter via Counterpunch. And there has been a huge shift in the West since the abandonment of the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1971. Now, this has accelerated when the USSR ended and has resulted in the neoliberal globalization we see all around us today. In the report, Runcourt references Michael Hudson's 1972 book, Super Imperialism, The Economy Strategy of America's Empire, to help explain the key role of maintaining dollar hegemony and the importance of the petrodollar to U.S. global dominance. And aside from the significance of oil, Runcourt argued that the U.S. has an existential interest to assure that opioid drugs are traded in U.S. dollars,
Yes.
which happens. I mean, it's terrifying and it's shocking, but it happens. Another major global commodity. And this possibly explains the U.S. occupation of Afghanistan. Possibly, you think? He also pinpoints the importance of U.S. agribusiness and the arms industry in helping to secure U.S. geostrategic goals. Now, Mike, this is a pretty dismal accounting, but how untrue is it? I mean, really, talk to us.
Well, I mean, it's no secret that the U.S. has always wanted oil to be traded for only in the U.S. dollar.
Yep.
And probably less people know about the illicit drug trade. But again, it's a major global commodity. And if it's being dealt with in dollars, that increases demand for dollars, and that keeps the value of the dollar up.
Yep, I hear you. Now, apparently, Bibi Netanyahu is vowing more preemptive strikes against Syria and has said that Israel will attack in a quote-unquote systematic and consistent manner. Now, this follows Syrian reports that they'd foiled an Israeli attack near the Golan. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu promised to launch even more preemptive attacks against Syria into the future. He has said that Israel was facing unending tests and that they would continue to attack in a systematic and consistent manner to ensure that Syria never establishes any capability to threaten Israel. Come on, Bibi. I mean, let's get real here. My cursor, dear? Thank you. Okay. All right. Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you. I mean,
there you are.
What is this guy thinking? And one thing I have to wonder is just when is Russia going to tell Bibi Netanyahu that this is no longer something he can do anymore? I don't know what the odds are on it, but Mike, that's pretty scary.
It is scary,
Yeah,
but as
yeah.
long as the United States has Netanyahu's back,
Yeah.
there
Okay.
you go.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay, there we go. And Israel has really been attacking Syria for months now and has spent much of what the Syrian war feigning neutrality while backing the rebel groups and attacking pro-government forces on every pretext or with no pretext at all. I don't think that Putin is going to put up with this nonsense for much longer.
Putin is not the belligerent one.
Yeah.
He's trying to calm things down. He's
Yes.
been the only adult in the room, going all the way back to the deal for Assad's chemical weapons. Anyway, we got to take a break for commercials. We've got a caller waiting on the line, and we'll be right back.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75% dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat, very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting Truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go to the phones here to Fred in Iowa. Aloha, Fred. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Claire.
Good afternoon.
You know, I've been against war and talking about it for 4.5 years on RBN.
Mm-hmm.
Little success. This misguided patriotism. And I'm 82.
Well, God bless you.
We teach our children and our grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
Go to these foreign countries that has never harmed us.
Yeah.
And slaughter women and children. It's sick.
I hear you. I hear you.
Hey, Claire, I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay.
Think about it.
Okay.
If and until we get back Christian ethic, things are going to get worse and worse and worse and horrid.
It's it's difficult for me too, Fred, because I am a sister Christian. But we have to understand that there are beautiful, loving, and moral people in many of the world's faiths. And what I wish I could do somehow would be to reinvigorate the peace movement. Remember that peace movement that stopped the war in Vietnam?
Yep.
Fred,
do you remember it, right?
I most certainly do.
Okay.
But I was stupid, ignorant hawk at the time. Ignorant man.
Listen, we all evolve, we all change, we all grow. But what needs to happen, I think, is a national peace front. Or I'll go you one better, a Department of Peace, where they show the government how they can get what they want without ever firing a shot. Now, Fred, I have volunteered to President Trump's administration on this. I haven't heard yet, but I am trying. And you were right
We didn't
about...
even get a Christmas card from him last year.
No, the nerve. But you are right about wanting to be with people who are at the highest octave of their understanding of their faith, which is about love, caring for people, being tolerant, and working together as Americans.
We can only do that, Claire,
Yes.
as individuals with faith, conviction,
Mhm.
and truth,
Yeah.
and be willing to die for that truth. Not take a life, die for it, Claire.
I know. I
You
hear
can
you.
talk to the cows come home about these different organizations.
Yeah.
It means so damn different until
Well,
the individual of faith takes that responsibility upon themselves to do what you say about loving our neighbor as
Mhm.
ourselves
yeah.
and not put man as gods. And we've got all these little g gods. These,
But we're all mortal, Fred. We're all mortal.
Yep.
And I hope as this country unfolds that there may be a teachable moment when we're going to start to be kinder to ourselves, everyone else, in every practical way.
Claire, read your Bible and look about and think about and get knowledgeable about the latter rain.
Yes.
It is about to fall.
Okay.
And God bless you.
Bless
lady.
you.
I'll
Bless
see
you
later.
too. You take care, Fred, okay? Bye-bye.
Okay, well, Fred has hung up, and the phone lines are open again. We've got about just exactly 1 minute before the next commercial break.
Okay.
So
I'm going to tease this then.
okay, tease the story.
We have a real battle going on in the White House between a kind of war adverse President Trump and Pompeo, Bolton, and Israel and AIPAC on the other side. And Mike, did you mention the issue of the snap elections earlier?
Yeah, I did
Okay.
mention it, that if
All
there's
right.
going to be a real shooting war with Iran, it's got to happen very soon,
Yeah.
so that it doesn't reflect negatively on Netanyahu come September. So we're talking about, the next 2 months here.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how war-averse Trump is. I mean, he certainly sounded that way during the 2016 campaign.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not seeing him. I mean, looking at the rhetoric today where he's out there saying, well, of course Iran did this, and we've got, I don't think he's war-averse at all. We have to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory-related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider
Got my
what
feet up.
really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We've got another caller on the line. Eric in Tennessee. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael and Claire. I think I heard you talk about you already have definite plans for moving to Indiana. You're pretty well set with that.
Yes. Yep. We're pretty much set with that. We've got family. We've got family who are being very generous with helping us with that. We're having the first of our yard sales tomorrow.
Very good. I'm having a yard sale myself on Friday.
Good.
Or
Okay.
next Friday.
So what's on your mind?
I inherited well, I was just checking in and making sure if you guys ever want to come to Tennessee and visit, feel free to contact me and I can show you around the area. And the cost of living in Tennessee is very inexpensive.
Oh, we know. We know.
Well, everywhere we looked around there, the cost of living is so low. It's just impossible here. Hawaii's population is actually in decline right now. People can't afford to live here. They're moving back to the mainland, or they're moving to Costa Rica or other places just to be able to survive.
Right. But so anyway, I just officially retired, and so I'll be free to if you need me to take you around or show you the area.
Thank you.
No problem.
That's very kind. Can I ask what you used to do before you retired?
I was an executive chef for 35 years.
Wow.
Yes.
And working 70 to 80 hours a week in a kitchen is not a fun life, let me tell you.
I hear you. And having to have that stuff right when it needs to go out to the server, that's an art. That really is.
Everything's got to be ready right on time.
Oh, you got it. Well, listen, bless you. Yes, if it's not, there's heck to pay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But bless you both, and when you get to the mainland, give me a call. You got my number.
Okay,
and,
yes.
Or call me sooner if you need anything in the meantime.
All right. Listen, thank you so much for the call.
Well, you're welcome.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here, Eric. The phone lines are open again. What is your next story?
I'll tell you what is deeply, deeply concerning to me. This country is succeeding by its arms sales to Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, UAE. The country is making enemies out of those people who have peacefully demonstrated and then found themselves at the receiving end of all the brutality their parent countries can dish out. Now, let's take a look at one of the most recent outrages with one of President Trump's BFFs in the Middle East, the Butcher of Yemen, aka Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Apparently, there is a Saudi teen who is facing execution for crimes he allegedly committed when he was 10. The article goes on to state there have already been at least 104 executions in Saudi Arabia in 2019, with ESOHR putting the number at 107 and Amnesty at 104. And apparently the Saudis have a chilling track record of using the death penalty as a weapon to crush political dissent and punish anti-government protesters, including children, and most generally from the country's persecuted Shia minority. Amnesty International's Middle East Research Director Lynn Malouf has said in a statement, she has added that there should be no doubt that the Saudi Arabian authorities are ready to go to any length to crack down on dissent against their own citizens, including resorting to the death penalty for men who were simply boys at the time of their arrest. And that's what's happened with this kid. Now, news.com.au got the story almost right. Apparently, this kid is facing beheading and crucifixion for his crimes. So I have a modest proposal for the Saudi government. Hey, Saudi government, why don't you sell the rights to the event live streamed while your murdering officials torture, crucify, and then behead this kid.
Well,
Wow.
They behead him first and they crucify the body.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the other way.
Nope.
Okay. Wouldn't that provide magnificent optics for the real processes of the Wahhabi justice system protected by the Saudi monarchy in Saudi Arabia? So let's let the whole world see what you were doing. For alleged crimes committed when this kid was 10. Mike, do you understand this? I cannot understand this.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, 10-year-olds do dumb things.
Yeah, they do. And for President Trump, who's become this country's merchant of death in chief, with regard to weapons sales to Saudi Arabia, a word, I do hope that the Busher of Yemen is going to send you some footage of the torture, killing, and crucifixion and beheading of this kid, if it happens. And I say this to you, sir, because you need to fully understand the Saudi monarchy's Wahhabi concept of justice. And I really think that looking at such images may just give you the kind of grounding you desperately need with regard to future weapons sales and the Saudis and other oppressive countries like Bahrain. Now, this was interesting to me. Facebook is going all in to Bitcoin. And apparently they've secured the backing of a lot of companies for its upcoming Libra cryptocurrency, which is set to be announced next week. This is coming in the Wall Street Journal reports. These companies include major financial organizations like Visa, MasterCard, internet darlings like PayPal, Uber, Stripe, and Booking.com. Each will invest around $10 million. That's a lot of dough.
Yep.
To fund the development of this currency, and will become a part of the Libra Association, which will be an independent consortium that will govern the digital coin independence of Facebook. And the involvement of these major financial firms like Visa and MasterCard is interesting because cryptocurrencies are typically seen as providing a cheaper alternative to these payment networks. Now, Wall Street Journal is speculating that these companies want to get involved at the first tier so that they can monitor Facebook's payment ambitions as well as benefit from the popularity of the currency, should it take off with Facebook's 2.4 billion monthly active users. Now, these reports, if these reports are true, this will be very much an economic game changer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it will.
Yeah.
And I mean, nobody doubts cryptocurrencies are coming along. But if you really think about it, much of the world's money is already virtual. It
Yeah.
exists only in computers.
Yes.
And
Yeah. And, oh, you talked about this, the
yeah,
USS
the
Mason.
USS Mason.
How soon is that supposed to hit?
Well, I don't know where it deployed from.
Yeah.
It may be just coming up from Qatar.
It's so strange. The State Department says it has no interest in engaging in a new Middle Eastern conflict.
Yeah, and they said
I
they didn't
mean,
want to go
hello.
into Iraq, and they didn't want to go into Syria, and they didn't want
Right.
to go into Afghanistan.
Yeah, yeah. It's the old saw again. Now, in the announcement from CENTCOM, said yesterday, adding that Iranian small boats were spotted in the area. Now, what they are telegraphing when they make the following statement is very interesting to me. No interference with the USS Bainbridge or its mission will be tolerated. Now, Mike, this is a Florida-based combat command, called the attacks on the tankers a clear threat to international freedom of navigation. Why did they telegraph so hard on the Bainbridge and say it can't be messed up? Are they setting...
That's the one that's already there.
That's the one that's already there, but are they setting this up as a sacrificial lamb in some way?
I rather doubt it. And as
Okay.
far as small Iranian boats being there,
Yep.
it is a narrow channel,
Okay.
and that is the coast of Iran.
Yeah,
So, no surprise, you're
Yeah.
going to see small Iranian boats.
yeah, yeah. I would like to hope that Bainbridge is not going to be attacked, you know. And the odd thing is that almost all of these major outlets are admitting Iran has little to gain from blowing up the ship of its esteemed guest, the
Abe.
Japanese, Abe. And Pompeo must realize that another route of influence is required. And then there was the Twitter, which time and again shows its willingness to serve the U.S.'s preferential narrative with mass deplatformings. And it happened this week. Some 4,779 accounts which were Iranian were removed for nothing more than tweeting global news content, often with an angle that benefited the diplomatic and geostrategic views of the Iranian state. This was deemed platform manipulation. I mean, what the heck is going on here, honey?
Well,
Come on.
they're basically trying to silence any other voices but that of the U.S. government. They're trying to retake control of the narrative.
Yeah. And the other day, Iran's air defense chief said, "We are warning the enemy, move as far away as you can from our border." And, well, we've got a parked carrier there in the Arabian Sea and built up its presence in the Middle East while accusing Iran of involvement in the sabotage of 4 tankers off the coast of the UAE. Now, the Iranian Air Defense Force commander, Brigadier General Alireza Sabit-Hafard, has urged Tehran's adversaries to keep their distance. And he made the statement that was translated into English: "We are warning the enemy there is no safe zone for extraterritorial military aircraft in Iranian skies. Even approaching Iran's borders would be met with a strong response. Thus, I advise you to move as much away from Iran's borders as you can." And, Mike, I don't think this is going to help. When the strike is going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's basically a question,
It's
now.
war talk. They're
Yeah,
banging the war drums.
It's a question of when but not if
Yeah.
anymore.
And I think it's going to be soon. Okay, we have another caller on the line here.
great.
Nur in Wisconsin. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, folks. I guess it's morning there, right?
Actually,
afternoon.
it's just afternoon.
Yeah.
Just afternoon. Okay. Yeah, Pompeo was saying how no one in the area has the sophisticated weapons as Iran does. Well, isn't Israel in the area?
Yes,
Don't we pay
Israel's
them
in
and
the
give
area.
them plenty of
we
stuff?
do.
And their
Yeah.
Dolphin-class submarines can launch submarine-launched cruise missiles.
Oh, yes. Proved
Yeah.
that on the USS Liberty and a few other places. Huh?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I just thought it was interesting that they're, acting like poor little innocent, invisible Israel that
Yeah.
turns out to be a drain for everything.
Yeah,
Sucks in everything.
And
So
what...
anyway, that's...
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you.
Oh, no. I was going to say that I think that Netanyahu could fly to Tehran and make peace with the Iranian government if he wanted to. But the way that the Israeli government works psychologically on their citizens is to constantly keep them in a place of fear, in a place of terror, and as the justification for everything they do in the region. And I would like to hope at some point the Israeli government will say, I think we want to play a little more nicely with our neighbors and not go in guns blazing. But I think that's going to take a generation away from Netanyahu, who I think is pushing about 55, 60. I would
Something
think.
like
yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
People all over the world are becoming more aware, so I think there's
Oh,
hope.
yeah.
But also, there was a very good article, and I'll send it to you from Press TV.
Okay.
Of course, made more sense from their
Thanks.
side.
Yes.
Why in the world would they do such a thing? It's ridiculous.
Exactly. It's stupid.
Just trying to set things off.
Yeah, they wouldn't. I mean, the Iranian leadership may be many things, but stupid isn't one of them. The other is not loving their kids and grandkids very much. Okay? So if we can maybe start from that kind of a premise maybe there's some hope. I always like to believe in hope. Okay?
Well, speaking of press, I think
Yeah.
we need to ignore the Talmud stream media. So, anyhow, I'll send this to you. Thank you.
Bless
Bye-bye.
you. You
Thanks
have a
an
great
awful
weekend.
lot, and we're going to let you go. And the phone lines are open. We're coming up on our final commercial break here. So, if you would do this next story.
Yeah. The Iranian mission to UN categorically rejects U.S. claim regarding Gulf of Oman attacks. And the statement was yesterday, and Iran announced that the country rejects the U.S. claim that Tehran was responsible for attacks on 2 oil tankers in the Gulf of Oman earlier in the day. And it categorically rejects the U.S. unfounded claim with regard to 13 June oil tanker incidents and condemns it in the strongest possible terms. Guys, they didn't do this.
They had no reason
They
to do
had
it.
no. Someone, please, out there, if you have a logical reason for Iran doing the most ham-fistedly, pig-headedly foolish thing they could do, I want to know. Call us, write us, whatever. But in my looking at this whole thing, there is no reason why Iran would have done that. Israel has a reason.
Israel
AIPAC
has a reason. The
Yeah.
United States has a reason.
Yeah.
They've been drooling for war on Iran for decades.
Oh, yeah, 20, 30 years. I am really hopeful that somehow someone is going to be able to ratchet the tension down. And Sergei Lavrov, white courtesy telephone, please.
Well, unfortunately, everybody has to agree to peace.
Yeah.
It takes only one maniac with
Yeah.
a bomb to keep the war going.
And as I think I've mentioned to you, I do have 2 heroes in terms of diplomacy right now. And they are President Putin. He seems to always want to go on the side of negotiation. Where's the common ground?
Yep.
And Sergei Lavrov. And Sergei, if you're ever, wherever we are going to be in the future, and I know you bring your guitar, let's jam. I play Irish harp. That's an invitation, and a nice one. And the next, so here, well, I wanted to mention this. We've had the USS Bainbridge and the USS Mason heading over to the Gulf.
Well, the Bainbridge is already
Is there, yeah. And that's a lot of firepower for that tiny area, is it not, Mike?
Not really.
Okay.
The Bainbridge is an Arleigh Burke. I don't know what class of ship the Mason is.
Okay. What does an Arleigh Burke do? How is it categorized?
It's a guided missile destroyer.
Ah, okay.
And it's got this very powerful radar, and it's able to direct multiple missiles to multiple targets at the same time. And it can launch surface-to-air standard missiles. Can also launch Tomahawks and harpoons, I think.
Okay. All right.
It's been a while since I cracked the old weapons books.
Yeah. Well, it's always kind of interesting to know what the purpose and the purpose function is of these ships.
Blow things up.
Yes, I think
All right,
so.
we got to take another break for
Yeah.
commercials. Back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. Airoutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. Airoutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to Airoutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at Airoutfitting.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far 5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Last segment of our program on this Pauhana Friday. And you have another story for us.
Yes, I do. And I thought it was quite interesting. There was an internal Facebook document that revealed that the social media giant monitors its users' behavior, offline behavior, as part of the company determines whether a person should be classified as a hate agent. Hate agent? Come on, guys. Give me a break.
Well, that's the new term of craft, meaning it's okay for us to censor and shut this person down.
Yeah, and so according to Breitbart's Alam Bukhari, who has reviewed the document, titled Hate Agent Policy Review, the document reveals that Facebook employs a series of signals which includes a person's behavior both on and off the platform. Once determined to be a hate agent, a person is banned from the platform forever. If you praise the wrong individual, interview them, or appear at events alongside them, Facebook may categorize you as a hate agent and may also categorize you as a hate agent if you self-identify or advocate for a designated hateful ideology. If you associate with a designated hate entity, one of the examples cited by Facebook as a hate entity includes Islam critic Tony Robinson, or if you have tattoos of hate symbols or hate slogans. The document cites no examples of these, but the media and anti-racism advocacy groups increasingly label innocuous items as hate symbols, including a cartoon, frog, and the okay hand signal. Mike, what's going on here? It feels like we are being distracted and distracted and distracted further and further away.
We're just being shoved into this little tiny mold.
Yeah.
You know.
And I also want to say...
And by the way, that's not a tattoo. That's a Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid. I have to tell you how proud I was of Jon Stewart with his testimony to Congress.
Yes.
This guy did an incredibly positive things for our 9/11 first responders who were told that the air was clean, they could go on down and start, mopping the place up. They're suffering with hideous diseases, cancers, and heaven only knows what. And that Congress was even thinking about yanking that funding. That was completely underhanded. Jon Stewart, you went in, you did absolutely the right thing. Absolutely, and I really praise him for that.
Okay, and there's our music. It's time for us to get on out of here and get into the weekend. Actually, we've got our yard sale tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of work.
Yep.
And boy, we've got so much junk.
Yes,
However
we
did we
do.
get so much junk?
Honey, we've lived here for 20 years. That's the short answer. Come on, love.
All right. Well, listen, stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of
Yes,
wonderful
of
things
course
to
he
share with
does.
you.
Yeah.
Have yourself a safe and pleasant weekend. Please donate to Republic Broadcasting. We'll be back on Monday. Aloha, America.